Zach, I want to pick your brain here because the Nets have had their way with the Bucks in the first 2 games of the series. It's just how it is. Milwaukee has been embarrassed. This is just how it is. 39 points. They were 39 points down.
49. 49.
They were 49, but they finished at 39 points.
Oh, good
down.
for them.
So, yay! Not what you want. Milwaukee is going to need to make some definite adjustments in Game 3 to get back into the series. So, Zach, please show us a little bit of just sort of from your perspective as an analyst, what you've seen.
It starts with their offense, which has been terrible in the series, and it starts with just being purposeful. So here's Drew Holiday as Kyrie Irving, and he calls for a switch for a better defender, Bruce Brown, going into this pick and roll. And one thing that's done really well, they're dropping way back and saying, Drew Holiday, you got to either attack us or make pull-up jumpers. And here's another one. You get a bunch of switches going on, and here's Drew Holiday saying, Nick Claxton's one of the best switch defenders in the entire NBA. If you're going to ever give the ball to Bobby Portis in the paint, it's right now. This is horrible. No one's moving. No one's doing anything. You're not going to. That is a way to lose a basketball game. Chris Middleton on Joe Harris. Joe Harris is a wildly underrated defender. This is not a mismatch. And look at how the Nets load up. So all the passing lanes are gone except that one. And Giannis paint touches are nice, but Giannis floaters aren't winning you the series. Here's another ISO against the Clex. You have Landry Shaman in the corner waiting to be attacked, the weakest link. They just haven't been purposeful enough. They need to do more stuff like this. Back screen for Giannis, mix it up a little bit. Get the Nets to switch into bad matchups, target their bad defenders. No accident that he got a dunk out of that. They're just sort of meandering with no purpose, with no aim. They're ignoring the weakest link on the other team, whereas the Nets are ruthlessly picking on the weakest link on their team. They just need to have more. It's not just the ISOs and the passing, which have been bad. It's the process leading to those ISOs and the lack of passing.
Well, I think, in my opinion, I hate it because I'm sounding like my coaches from back in the day. It starts on the defensive end.
It does.
To Zach, to your point, you see them kind of staggering around on offense, not really get into their things. A huge portion of their offense is getting the Greek freak out in space to where he can operate, attack the paint, put the other team in foul trouble, and then they start their kick and pass game. That's where I think they're most effective. And if they're not getting stops, if you're not getting stops against the Brooklyn Nets, if KD is scoring 36 points in a game off of 18 shots, you're probably not going to win that game. They're going to have to go back to their basics, back to being, they're in their identity, and they're going to have to show some toughness and just get stops and play out in the open court, get those open threes, get everybody involved. That's going to be a necessity for them. We'll definitely see how they respond tonight, because sometimes your back has to be against the wall to respond accordingly. So I feel that this is their moment of truth. We'll see how they respond.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a team that had designs on being elite, getting to the NBA Finals, winning an NBA championship. They've been good in their own building. They have a 2-time MVP. You have to expect them to punch back tonight. I do have to ask you, Zach, though, is Mike Budenholzer coaching for his job in this series?
I mean, if I had to guess, based on what I've heard and what I've read, absolutely. And particularly if they get rolled, if they just get rolled, if Game 3 looks anything like Game 2 and this is a short series, I do think there's going to have to be changes somewhere in Milwaukee, and that's the most obvious place to look.
And look, the main criticism of him has been he's an excellent coach, but he has not shown the ability to adjust mid-series during the playoffs the way some of the coaches he's been going against have. Now, he did a lot of adjusting during the regular season. We did not see those adjustments in game or even between games, between 1 and 2. And meanwhile, Steve Nash, who is a rookie head coach, I think has done a phenomenal coaching job.
I agree. And we did see, in Bud's defense, we saw those regular season adjustments pay off against Miami. And he did change his starting 5 for this series. But this is, I think Chris put it right. I don't think it's dramatic to say. This is a moment of truth for the Bucks organization, the Bucks team, the Bucks coaching staff. They have to win this game.
Interesting. Well, the Nets defensively, look, they took a lot of heat during the regular season from people questioning, is their defense going to be there? Can you win a championship with a defense like this? Brooklyn has answered those questions, people. They have held Milwaukee to 44% from the field, 25% from 3 so far in the series, which is a big deal since Milwaukee was so good from 3 during the regular season. Quick update here. James Harden, not a surprise, been ruled out for Game 3, continuing to battle hamstring issues. Zach, what do you think has been the key to the Nets improving their defense so much and stepping up in the playoffs?
I just think the level of communication and talking is elite. They're engaged. They have active hands. They're helping each other. The rotations are on point. And this is what they did in games 1 and 2 against Boston. They went out and proved we have a gear we can get to where maybe we're not elite, but we're decent, we're good. And with our offense, decent, we're winning the championship with decent. And then they kind of took their foot off the gas against Boston. Right. Their foot is right back on the gas. And by the way, when they play Bruce Brown and Claxton and KD and Joe Harris together, that's the skeleton of a really good defense. All those guys are really good defenders. And the story of the playoffs, or among them, has been Kevin Durant has just been otherworldly on both ends of the floor, and his defense has been all NBA level defense. They've been playing really, really good basketball on both ends.
I know, by the way, that the big stars on Brooklyn's team are fun to watch, and there's so many of them, even without James on the floor. But if you're a basketball fan, watch Nick Claxton. He is so much fun to watch play basketball, especially defensively, the way he scampers around. I hope that he gets a little bit more shine during this postseason. And it is interesting to see how a team that the whole season we were like, we all know that they can buckle down when they really want to, has in fact buckled down when they really want to. LeBron James teams have done that for a long time. Now, Chris, I know that defensively, right when you guys got together down in Miami, Pat Riley held that training camp, Eric Spoelstra on a military base, and you guys only did defensive drills for the first couple of days. But then as the seasons wore on in Miami, I assume there was that feeling of, hey, we all know how good we are. We can turn it up a notch when it counts, right?
I mean, there's a mode to that, but there's also a mode to bringing it when it's time to bring it. You definitely want to spend the whole season practicing these habits defensively. That's where the Nets are going to have their challenge. But if you have 5 guys on a string, if you have guys that are motivated, and like you were saying, and Kevin Durant is playing at an all-NBA defensive level. He doesn't get enough credit as being a two-way player. He's an extremely tough defender. So if he's buying in, if you see your best player, guarding the other best player, and then on top of that, Blake Griffin diving on the floor for loose balls, getting those tough rebounds, put back dunks, those are the things that you would think the other teams would beat them in. So if the Brooklyn Nets are winning those tough categories, those second chance points, rebounding, and like you said, just playing decent defense, they have enough firepower to where they just have to try. If they try, they give themselves a chance.
I love you mentioning Blake, too, by the way. Obviously, he has some stuff to prove personally, not to any of us, but it just seems like to him, right? It seemed important to him that people understand that what happened in Detroit for the past couple seasons was the result of definitely some injury issues and just being on a team where there weren't as many good players around him. And he is able to show now, not just the dunks, not just the offense that he's provided them without Harden in there, but defensively. He's going up against Giannis a lot of these possessions, and he has been looking really, really strong. And I know that has meant a lot to him as well. All right, we will see if the Bucks make their stand tonight. We will also be coming up in this show talking about the Sixers. They were able to kind of contain Trae Young in their Game 2 victory, but Trae Young cannot be contained, people. He's shown that this playoffs. So we'll discuss what worked for Philly and what Trae might do to battle back. First, though, here's what the Jump recommends for today. Check out more on Bucks Nets in that pivotal Game 3. Pivoting. Maybe people will do pivoting. Kirk Gold